Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Varyas Tatar Srila Srila Bhakti Santa Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Varyas Tatar Srila Bhakti Rakak Srila Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Varyas Tatar Srila Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Guru Parampara Ki Jai. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktirupashvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaurita Vishay Namaha Jayatam Saratu Pangur Mama Madhamatargate Matsarva Shapadam Bojo Radhamana Namohana Javancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripasundabevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yay. So this is something Srila Govinda Maharaj, it was that expression, not so much, I mean maybe in his own way, but Srila Maharaj, he would sort of, the affectionate connection with other entities, but it was Gurudev that made that expression heart-to-heart transmission. And he would often, because he was always finding English terms that he could sort of try and relay to us what was bhakti. So you know the English expression, the heart knows, the heart wants, or the heart knows. The heart wants what the heart wants. And often the head we have to keep out of its way. So heart-to-heart transmission is that the path or the dara, it wants to enter our heart. The Mahamantra enters the heart. The affection of the sadhu enters the heart and charms us, captures us. So love is charming, love captures us. The path is charming, it captures us. So hopefully the experience of the path of bhakti that's being presented to us is of a level or is of a caliber that it does capture us. Because the expression of Krishna consciousness must have Krishna present within it in a living, dynamic sense. So because Krishna is all attractive, the path of Krishna consciousness, the Mahamantra, the Prasadam, everything should be gradually attracting us. And Gurudev used to say, what blocks the heart-to-heart transmission is the coal. So all these terms that we throw around or we relate to are there because those examples have been given by other masters. So the mountain of coal is blasted by Mahamantra or by the potency of the acharyas. And then the heart-to-heart transmission is the gold magnetism feeling that's being communed. Hare Krishna.
Shall we begin chapter 2, Maharaj? I'm happy
I'll
to
say
read
again.
first. Shall we start chapter 2?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll take a few pages. Chapter 2, Heart-to-Heart Transmission. Question. We hear that all truth is present in the scriptures, specifically Srimad Bhagavatam. But how do we know when we are supposed to take the expressions in the scriptures literally or figuratively? How do we understand what the scriptures are really trying to say? Srila Govinda Maharaj responds, how will we understand anything about the scriptures? We must first enter into a school. When we are admitted into a school, we are given appropriate lessons for our level by our teacher. When I'm studying in a school, I pass through class 1 to class 2, then to class 3, and so on. In each class, what I am taught is not exactly the same. Each higher class does not present everything in the same way as the previous classes do, but whatever I learn in each class is appropriate and beneficial for me at that level. The Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other scriptures are an ocean, and they contain so many verses which have many different meanings. Ultimately, they are all guiding us towards the same goal, Krishna Bhakti, but we are not always able to understand that. Sometimes it is very difficult to see that actually. Many different practicing processes are explained in the various scriptures: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and others. If we want to understand the real advice of all the scriptures, if we want to understand where the scriptures' knowledge is trying to take our consciousness, then it is first necessary to faithfully study the scriptural lessons that are appropriate for us in a school under the guidance of a proper teacher. That is the best process. We must be very conscious about reading the scriptures. The scriptures are not the easiest thing to understand. Srimad Bhagavad Gita explains how a student should approach a teacher to learn spiritual knowledge. Tad vidi pranipatana pariprashnana sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshanaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 434. Here it is explained that a student must be a little qualified to approach a teacher. Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, first be surrendered, then inquire and serve. Your guru will want to hear your questions and bestow his mercy upon you if you are really surrendered to him, you are humble, and you have real hankering. First, approach Gurudev through surrender, then serve him. Surrender alone is not sufficient. Surrendered service to Gurudev is the main thing that will give the sincere seeker the proper result in his search for transcendental knowledge. Someone may acquire general knowledge in other ways, but without pranipat, surrender, pariprashna, sincere inquiry, and seva, service, the transcendental knowledge will not reveal itself in the heart. When a student is a little qualified in this way and finds a guru who is a qualified teacher, the student must surrender to him, ask him questions, and serve him. Everything will be revealed in the heart of the qualified sincere seeker by the qualified guru when the disciple is enriched with these three qualities of surrender, inquiry, and service, enriched with a mood of devotion. When that mood is present, everything will be set right. The guru's heart will be melted by that student's sincere approach, and the guru will be ready to teach the student. By this process, the student will understand, through the melted heart of the Guru, the essence of all the scriptures, everything that is to be found within the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the other scriptures. This is how we should try to learn the scriptures. Awesome.
Yes, you know, the world, the Western world is academia and study, and I will understand and I will know and I will have the command over that perspective or wisdom or understanding. This is the Veda, this is the veil, sort of the testing system, the filtering of how that knowledge is held, and it's detected by who's holding it, who's carrying it, what level of sincerity, or what is the motive in the approach. Very interesting. So the guru who's in the role of the guru was also, in the time of his guru, was a student. So many like, and I had this discussion with somebody the other day who was an intellectual, you could say, or at least he had some handle on what he thought or understood to be Vedanta and the path. And we did a big overview of this academia that approaches the path of bhakti. So academia or intelligence, the tendency in intelligentsia is to know what's on the ledge. But the incredible mystical aspect of bhakti is you may get entrance to the black and white or the download of the intellectual aspect of Vedanta. So you may grab the book from the shelf, knowledge, that which is above you, and assimilate it. But the spirit of what it is and the mystical entrance into the living current will be blocked unless there is the surrender and the seva. And so this is one of the sort of death blows to academia. So academia, it won't get entrance into the mysteries of bhakti unless the seva conception is there. So surrender and seva. So the seva is that it's not just to know, but once you know, the knowledge wants to instigate you in the service. See, so love won't reveal, Krishna won't reveal himself unless you're offering love. You may know something about him or the path or the great wisdom, but without the seva, there'll be no reciprocal expression, because to love someone is to serve them. So it's like, yeah, I know about Anam, and I know her, and I know where she lives. I know that she has an organic bread factory. But the deepening of the relationship, even in the human play, will be through love and service. Nothing will deepen in the transactions and transmission between one party and the other. So when you overview this, you see that the seva, or the surrender, means to be humble. So you have to be an actionable offering and service. So when we came to the path, like as young men, or if you're in a female body, you'll come as a young woman, service was sort of the very foundational key point that everyone served. Washed pots and cleaned and cooked and collected and donated, and not only for 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, but that we're in this continual service to the upper forever. And so this is where academia will get some handle on what is bhakti, but it's only through the surrender and the seva that it becomes a living, dynamic revelation. Anyway, so this young man that I was talking to the other day, I said, this is like this one verse that you've just read, Jenna, is fundamental to every other aspect of Veda being revealed to us. So, my sister once declared, well, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and I'm as spiritual as any other guru and any other person and any other. And so, no doubt she can declare that and pull out the trumpets and present wherever she thinks she is. But from the bhakti perspective, it's the service to the upper. What is your service action and depth in the relationship to the higher? So, many, not only years or decades of seva, but lifetimes of seva to the higher. And in body, not just going, yeah, I'm serving Gurudev by my intellect. I read some books once. Like a long history of seva. And this is, and no doubt, that saying, this sorts out the babies from the adults in regard to the conception of bhakti. But seva is an ongoing development. So like this, what we're in the middle of is the seva. There are many ways by which we can serve, but it's through the seva that the revelation descends from the upper. So anyway, this point, it's a very heavyweight sloka that the revelation, or Jnaninas Tattvadarshana, which is Tadvriti Pranipatena Pariprashnana Seva Upadekshanti Te Jnanam, Jnaninas Tattvadarshana. The only way you're going to get darshan of that great truth is through the surrender, the submissive inquiry, and the service. So the service, so Krishna won't reveal himself unless we're offering our love and actionable service. So the higher, so the same, the guru, his identity and what wealth he carries, he will be detecting those three things. And then if he detects it, everything that his master gave him, he wants to give to others. Now, this is interesting that the guru has the discretion on who he delivers his mercy to. And the discretion is he's able to detect, or she, if the guru is in a female form, is able to detect something of the mood of approach. Is it a trading approach? Is it a sincere service approach? So as we're sincere, and as we're sincere to surrender, serve, and submissively inquire, the higher will reciprocate. And the guru will also get the download, oh, this soul is very sincere. So whatever I have, I want to give everything to that person or personalities. Yeah, so Krishna, like a love affair, we are tested out to make sure that we won't betray. So the higher aspects of what Guru wants to give, that also, if there is trading tendency or we're holding back, all of that's detected. So that's where you'll see gurus at different stages, because gurus are students moving at different stages, and students are also at many different stages. So Gurudev used to say, there may be some analysis to all these points, but in general, if there is the attempt to try from all the different parties, guru, disciple, then the divine mystical system will be in gradual promotion and progression. So yeah, quite a deep subject, this subject. Hare Krishna. Any reflections there, Anam? These are sort of the inner mysteries of the guru-disciple relationship.
I was just thinking that in summing it up, we can also say that it's all about your intention, you know.
Yes.
So if you're doing it for an intention to finally get the darshanam, then that's also in a way a little bit off, because at that moment, your intention should just be to serve, you know, like whether you get your darshan at the end or not, that's for the future to decide.
Yeah, that's a high point, because we are initially motivated, let's get out of the material world, let's attain enlightenment, freedom. But the service in itself is, especially that's why you study the Guru Parampara, you study the disciplic succession. The teacher, who taught that teacher, his knowledge, his understanding? Was he trained directly? What was his history? But so there's two things in that regard. So the self-sacrifice. So you self-sacrifice with a view like, oh yes, if I can get darshan of that great truth, that's the goal. And then Srila Maharaj once expressed, even higher than self-sacrifice is self-forgetfulness. You're so lost in the service and regard. But see, that service connects you with that current. So the service is the dynamic. So the path in of itself is the goal. So there's great pleasure and happiness in the service. But higher than self-sacrifice, which is like, I need to sacrifice, I need to put myself into the service today, tomorrow, last week, and in the future. But there is a stage where you're so absorbed, you even forget the self, where you forget to drink or even eat. You forget to look after yourself in the service, because your self-forgetfulness, there's self-forgetfulness. So we've seen, I know even my own witnessing of Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would often go into self-forgetfulness. And, you know, there would be so much service stacking up the worldwide mission. Same with Prabhupada, you know, wanting to sort of spread and nurture and give time to everybody, so much so that he would neglect his own health or go against the warnings of the doctors for traveling on the flight. Govinda Maharaj, if you travel, you could die on the flight. And he said, oh, good. Then let the coffin be ready on the other side. So, because Gurudev was in love with the service, like to please his own master, to spread the glories of Bhakti. Because he knew that the world is needing the remedy of Bhakti. Anyway, Guru Tattva is very deep. These subjects are very deep things. It's in the future, many will write many books on all the deep esoteric. And also, Guru is not localized or monopolized to one soul, like the Christians. Like, you know, we sometimes say, oh, Prabhupada, or Govinda Maharaj. But the conception of Guru is eternal. So the disciples of the great masters, they may also carry many, many things and do many things, even physically more than the previous masters. So we have to sort of be understanding the spirit of what Guru is carrying, he wants to give that, or she, if the Guru is a female, to give that to all. So no one holds monopoly, because it's actually the dance of Radha Govinda. So the darshan of the tattva is not only enlightenment, but also it's the darshan of the supreme couple. Mm.
And you said, Maharaj, that Srila Govinda Maharaj, or like Gurudev, revealed more after he left the planet. There was more like...
Yeah, in some cases, some students will have gotten more in his departure than in his presence because of the separation. I wrote to Srila Govinda Maharaj and once said, I'm always regretting that. Like, I spent 6 months with you this year, 6 months with you the next year, but I'm in London and I'm here and I'm in Australia and I'm in New Zealand. I always feel like I'm missing out and that I want to be serving you directly, like collecting for you directly or helping to make your breakfast or dinner. And Gurudev, he said, no, he said, the real service is the service in separation, because to serve in front of the Guru is easy because the figure and the activities, but serving in separation when the Guru is no longer present, that's another level of sincerity and commitment. Because now the Guru's not there to go, now you got to get up in the morning and you need to chant on the rounds. And Keshava Maharaj, you make sure you're there at 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening for that book club. He's not here to tell me. Like the father is not there to push the son or the daughter. So who pushes? Then we have to pray the inspiration and separation continues somehow. So service and separation is a higher level of commitment. You have to go deep into your own sort of Gurudev, and in that, the master can appear from the subtle and help us. So, like you all haven't met Srila Govinda Maharaj directly, but then see, you're reading him, his writings through this forum. So you can't imagine how much happiness it brings to me that you're hearing my master's teachings. Like we're reading from his teachings. So I know the impact it had on my life, and I know what impact is coming for your life, because I'm living in that. And it's a great gift. It's an incredible thing. And it won't be sort of a phase. I mean, hopefully we come into the eternal service and the flow of this. But it is true, like the end of this verse, Jnaninas Tattva Darshana, darshan of divine truth is coming for us. Actually, it's already touched us on some level, and it will continue to keep dancing with us.
Maharaj, does it feel very familiar to you? Like knowing, I'm sure you can hear his voice in your head while we read along, or what's that like for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. But what's even more amazing is how his work is continuing here. Like it's like he's ever extending. See, the Guru principle is eternal. Like his work's continuing. See, it's like who I connect or give the mantra to. It's not my mantra. I'm actually handing you to him. So I'm going, Gurudev, here's another flower for you. Here's another soul. But see, all souls belong to Radha Govinda. So we're just the aspiring conduits. But our happiness, so because I loved, like I knew how so it was off the Richter scale, this chance to come and be in his presence. And it is true that I, like even these questions and answers, I can feel his presence descending into our book clubs. I feel the sort of eternal, and he's sort of emitting that sort of darshan of the higher, and basically working us all over, including myself. Yeah. So even I'm being worked over, sort of but worked over in a good way. The working over is like we're being captured. They want to capture us wholly and solely out of the dream. That's what's happening. That's why there's sometimes there's an intensity, but there's a sort of a shifting and a shaking and a sort of a transformative current. So yeah, no, I feel him as you read. Because this is from his transcription. So he would have spoken this directly to a group of students. Amazing. The spiritual extract. But also true that you may have been acquainted with other great masters in previous births that have taken you to the stage that you're at. And so now you're getting the chance to continue. So many gurus assist us, actually. But they have to be of that caliber of level of, direct training and nurture and guidance. Gurudev, he said even the students that I connect, at least a few years living, because there were so many things we learned. Like even the conception of Guru, like, because I had a romantic idea of what the Guru is, like, but he's, his nature, he was colored fully with the path. There wasn't any interaction, even his anger or his frustration or his, what may appear as his depression, if there was some difficulty going on in the mission, it was all colored with his desire to please and make things better for the service. So what appeared relative wasn't. Even his illness, like it said, even the illness of the masters, they're only playing that way. They're appearing as being ill. Because they're not ill, their bodies are ill, but they're living in a state of consciousness beyond that. So that's why the Guru can appear old or young or in female body, male body. He can appear in any form, that's true. The conduits. So the awakening soul takes on the position of Guru. So therefore the students also, that's why, what is handed, what's being given to you is also worshipped by the Guru. That's another mystery, The Guru worships the students. People think, oh, those fools are worshipping the Guru or giving honor and respect. But it's the opposite. The Guru's worshipping. How is he worshipping the disciples? He's worshipping them by giving his life to them, training them, nurturing them, educating them, housing them if needs be. He'll house, he'll do everything to raise you up into your enlightenment as a service to the higher. Because to see you come into your natural position as an eternal servant of love, that brings the Guru great happiness. Because see, he was brought into that by his teacher. So the great work continues, But it's all done very mystically, naturally, lovingly, sweetly. Sometimes that work is done like you're inside a 747, like a jetliner, and you think there's not much happening or moving. But compared to the outside, you're actually moving at 800 miles an hour. But inside, it appears you're sleeping and you're lying down, you're feeling a bit up or down or left or right, but you're in the plane moving at 800 miles an hour. So that's also mysterious because of the connection with the great teachers. So yesterday was the disappearance festival of Srila Maharaj. It's a very heavy day for Gurudev. In America, it's his disappearance festival. His appearance festival, his appearance, He disappeared in August. So his appearance. So the appearance of. But it is true, Srila Govinda Maharaj's relationship with Srila Maharaj was very unique. It was very familial and loving.
Maharaj, when you use the terms appearance and disappearance, is that something that can only be used for sort of like high, souls, or is it kind of like anybody?
No, everybody, their birthday and their departure, their death. But you see the appearance and the disappearance of the masters, so this is a little pun on words, it only appears they're disappearing. See, they're not disappearing because, see, they're connected with the eternal world. That's why I can't turn my computer around, but you see my altar, there's a picture of Govinda Maharaj and Srila Maharaj. They never left. They are literally there in the picture. So we're in the eternal, the pictures of the masters are the masters. So this is mysterious. So, like, for instance, this is amazing. So what we're reading here, that is Srila Govinda Maharaj speaking to us. So if I could put us all in the time machine and go, right, we're going to India, to West Bengal, to the ashram in 1994, afternoon, 4 o'clock, on the 18th of, what's today? Today is the year of our Lord, 10th of November, 2020. So we could go back, 1998, 10th of November, and be sitting in front of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And what we're experiencing in this book club can be non-different. And it is non-different. For some of us, it's non-different. It depends on the consciousness. See, that's why in the beginning we invoke. You see, I always invoke. Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Varya. So invoking means like literally they can be, Gurudev can be sitting in a nun's lounge there, just listening in and giving his support and love and affection, and to you, Jenna, and to Sudishan and Rohit. Because they're not within the quantum, they're multidimensional, they're eternally liberated, but they can move in the astral and psychic planes. Actually, the great sages and rishis do that. Narada Muni travels through the astral realms. He has disciples on higher planets, lower planets. So if you have any devotional picture in your house, like of Saraswati or Ganesh or Krishna or Radha, that's why it's even initially setting up these altars, which we'll do a workshop on. When you set up an altar in your house and the masters are somewhere in a sacred place, they'll be emitting and helping you always. And then a picture of the Panchatattva, a picture of Radha Krishna. Do you have any devotional pictures at all? Do you have any, Jenna, do you have any pictures of Govinda Maharaj or Sridhar Maharaj or Prabhupada or Krishna anywhere in the house?
I don't. I actually have a necklace that has Radha Krishna on it.
Okay, so there we go. That's something.
A painting of Kali above my piano.
Yeah, so the goddess, Kali is, so she's in an angry mood with the tongue out and sort of.
Oh, yeah.
So then, yeah, that window is open. That window is open.
When I read about Kali for the first time, I never forgot this line. Sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but it said, the ego trembles at the sight of Kali, for it sees in her its own demise.
Yeah.
And that was just my in with Kali.
Yeah.
But I really I really want to have a picture of Krishna in my house, like maybe at the front door or something. First thing you see.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll, get you all set up for a small altar somewhere where you can, even a closed altar that you keep private if you like, and you open up. But an altar of the great teachers, they'll invoke and help and support you. An altar is, so this is why, so when we go to India, luckily, when the COVID disappears and we go to see Anam and stop in and have some nice organic bread and then continue our trip with her, hopefully, and Rohit, up to the Himalaya or to Vrindavan. We go to these ashrams. we can actually go to the Samadhi mandirs of these great masters where their physical bodies have been preserved in salt, Samadhi. And you come into that arena, the vibration, it's very sacred. And then you can come to the temples where the great masters invoke the Lord to descend. into the lordships, like the deities, and you can feel this place is very sacred. Your consciousness will be transformed. So, yes, so the pictures, the samadhis, they're all doorways to eternity. So, and wait for this, so even the sound. So if I show you a picture of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then I go, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajya Kacharya Varista Taras Rashishi Manshira Satyananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Same. The sound is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and the picture is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and the writings are also Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So it's very mysterious. So this is where Mahamantra, Krishna is his picture, he's his sound vibration, and he's also a divine supreme entity. So when you go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, that is the divine couple there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a question. So if you see specifically in Hindu culture, we burn the body after death, right? But why, when it's come to the acharyas, we don't burn the body? They have the samadhis, right?
Yeah, because their bodies, unlike general jiva, the bodies of the masters, they've dedicated their entire, so their bodies are not considered material. They've dedicated their bodies, and body, word and consciousness and heart, everything to the higher. So, and you'll see, when we used to even, when I used to hug the form of Gurudev, I could feel this is something else. Even his body was light. Did I tell you once Gurudev got up from the chair, he had been coughing. He had lung problems for many years, maybe living in Calcutta. But he got up and he was dizzy, and he was literally at a 45-degree angle. So he was going to literally slam to the ground. And I was sitting, and I jumped up to put my hand and shoulder to catch him from falling to the ground. Like he was literally like this, like, and I put my hand, and there was no weight. And I just easily took him from, which is not possible, like as human, because, he was large bodied. So he was so light. And he sort of slightly smiled at me, and I realized that there's some mystical connection, like his body had no weight. So it's like even the cells or the vibration that he was in at that particular moment, his body had become very light. So like the mystics, they can do that. They can make their bodies light or heavy, and it really struck me. But many other things that happened around Srila Govinda Maharaj that were very mystical, like otherworldly. Definitely often feeling very like off-world, like his vibration, his sound vibration, his connection everyone would just be sort of, it's like we were all stoned. We would, of course that term they use in the West for drugs, but we were sort of stoned in some ways, like a mystical, some off-world feeling, something beyond. Yeah, it was always mysterious, but it would come and go depending on the different circumstances. But so anyway, the bodies of the masters, sometimes a sannyasi may be burned, depending, just depends. But generally a guru that has disciples, no. The disciples will arrange, no. We place the guru in samadhi. But it does depend. Sometimes the sannyasi or the guru are specifically asked the body to be, his own body to be burned, but sometimes that's not the case. They're placed in samadhi. And then above the body is placed in salt. A murti is made of the form of the guru. And then the worship continues. the honor and the respect, offering food every day, offering incense flowers, because they're the divine conduits on earth. Now, this is another amazing thing, and I'm not sure if you're aware, and so Lord Shiva is sometimes seen to be wearing skulls. Those skulls are human masters that have walked the earth in perfection, and he's so in awe of them that he takes their head and polishes them and puts them on a garland and worships the garland. They're great liberated souls. Yeah, so even the skull of the great masters are, but that's Lord Shiva doing that. I mean, generally that's not recommended that, we're doing that in the modern age, but Lord Shiva is the best of all the demigods, the highest demigod. It is truly around even our lineage, many, many things happened. Like even my own journey, where I am now, and everything that has happened to me in the last 10 years, literally everything, all predicted. Even the type of lessons and experiences I've had to move through was predicted by Gurudev. I could never have guessed, but only now, later, in his expressions, I could see that was the case. So he knew future, past, present. So all of those cities, all of that awareness is present within us also. So as we awaken, we'll also be empowered with many things. So it's not abstract that it's for the masters. You see, all beings are potentially like Anthony Robbins, awaken the giant within. Awaken the divine being that you are within. But we need expert guidance for all of that process. And so the thing is that the guru helps to deconstruct. I was talking with Kanaka Gopi the other day, and I was saying, like many think that the relationship with guru is the guru's there to sort of make us feel good. The guru is actually in the process of deconstructing that which is not love within us. It's a very intense, mystical, but the deconstruction will all be done in such a way that sometimes you won't even know the process is happening, but you are being gradually deconstructed. Your false self, your ahankaric self, is being gradually dismantled, slowly but surely. So the guru is being played with the students on how to do that. The guru gets downloads on every individual student. He'll speak and act in a particular way with one and a particular way with another, all for the deconstruction of the false constructs, both gross and subtle. So what's happening is the guru is being played to be a conduit to strip away all that's not love within us and within himself. Because the guru may be at different stages. So that which isn't love will actually eventually have to be dropped. And that's done through union, through separation, through many things. And in general, the medicine that deconstructs and breaks down the false ego is Mahamantra, Prasadam, services like this, like these book clubs. That's part of that process to break down and establish reality, beauty, love, service to the higher. Hence die to live. But it's something that we've ushered in, we've called this in. Because we know that we have to let go. We have to die to live in order to transform. So we're learning to give up our addiction to the magic theatre. We're giving it up willfully, actually, voluntarily. We're giving up the costumes gradually. We're giving up we're going from beside ourselves to ourselves. So the beside ourself that has been living and existing for millions upon millions of births is gradually being deconstructed. And so, with the real, Slim Shady, please stand up. Would the real you come forward, please? And the real you, or the real us, the real me, is love. Nothing but love, emanating love. There's no Purusha nature. There's no ego, false ego. It's just love loves love. So we're all coming to that through the path. And so what has to be released, that will come through the practice. Slowly but surely, mystically. Yeah. Krishna or Guru nothing is ever given to us or shown, or there'll be nothing that happens in front of the Guru that the students will not be ready for. That's been my experience. And Govinda Maharaj many times he said, Krishna is very kind. Everything that is required for our evolution, we won't be taken beyond our level of what we can handle or move through, or what may have to be reflected in us will be, Krishna won't take us beyond what we're ready for in reflection, for that deconstruction of the false self. Many times, sometimes students would come to Govinda Maharaj and go, I want to do this for you, Gurudev, and that for you, Gurudev. And he could detect, if I just, it'll all come in time. Like he didn't want to declare it because he knew, their enthusiasm, but it'll come in time, because it's also in the highest time, the divine and divine timing, everything. So what? The next, spiritual experts. Please keep going. We've sort of had a lot of reflection over this verse. It's a big verse. It's one of the main verses of the Bhagavad Gita.
It was awesome to listen to you. Spiritual experts. We can see that the scriptures themselves always advise us about the position and necessity of the proper teacher, the sadhu. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami advises us, Yaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavara Stane, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela 5:131. Go to the Vaishnava devotee, and hear from him the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Only read Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of the Vaishnavas. Without the Vaishnava, we cannot understand the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we will undoubtedly proceed in the wrong direction. It is necessary to hear the explanation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or any scripture, from some expert. Only when we hear from an expert can we understand the real meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Our knowledge is very limited. Nobody can say, I am full with all knowledge. Even Srila Guru Maharaj told us, I am a student. You consider yourselves masters. I consider myself to be a student, and all of you to be students. Nobody is a master. It was Srila Guru Maharaj's conception that we are all students. Therefore, we must try to understand what our lessons are from a proper teacher. Through one who understands the essence of the lessons we are to learn, we can easily understand what our lessons are. It is very difficult to understand otherwise. We may make wrong interpretations, not understanding the real meaning of the scriptures, and we may be deceived. It is necessary to hear the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam from a proper interpreter and servitor of Krishna, like Srila Guru Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam itself has given two formulas for understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. One prescribes reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and the other prohibits reading Srimad Bhagavatam. If someone suddenly opens Srimad Bhagavatam and follows what comes in front of them, then they will proceed in the wrong way. It is necessary to harmonize the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam's conception. And who can harmonize it? Only one who knows the fundamental basis and full meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are so many things written in the scriptures, and they are no doubt very good things. But because we have limited knowledge, we can also easily misunderstand the words of the scriptures. We must discuss the scriptures with a sadhu to clarify that we are understanding the scriptures properly. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayanaha kataha taj josanad aparvaga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramisyati. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. The Lord himself explains in Srimad Bhagavatam, discussions about me heard in the association of my pure devotees nourish your ears and your hearts. They fill your souls with ecstasy. Only when someone proceeds in their spiritual life under the guidance of my devotees will they naturally develop proper faith, attachment, and devotion. What is written in books and what is heard directly from the sadhu are two completely different things. What we may read or hear outside the association of the sadhu is not hritkarna rasayana kataha, nectarian words which nourish our hearts and fill us with ecstasy. Only when we hear from the sadhu are we receiving something in the proper channel, receiving something descending down from Goloka Vrindavan through the hearts of our paramparas gurus, which is perfect and necessary for our spiritual life. Only when we hear in the proper channel from the sadhu is there a transmission of the power which reveals the essence of the scripture's words in our hearts. We are given real entrance into what we hear in the scriptures by the sadhu. Awesome.
So I'll chant that verse on the right.
Awesome.
And there's actually another one we on the right, back on page 37. Spiritual experts. Yaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavershtani Ikanta Ashraya Kali Chaitanya Charani Chaitanya Bhakta Ganera Nityakara Shanga Tabata Janiva Shidanta Samudra Taranga Chaitanya Charamrita Anchalila chapter 5, text 131 and 132. Go and study Srimad Bhagavatam with the Vaishnavas. Sincerely take shelter of Sri Chaitanya's feet and always associate with his devotees. Then you will understand the waves in the ocean of truth. So this always goes back to under the guidance of an expert, through the service of an expert. So it becomes, see what it is you're seeing that academia can't enter. You have to, so that the relationship with Shastra, and to understand it is through the submissive inquiry, the surrender, and the service. So the guru will train and guide. And so service is not foreign because everyone's serving. It's just what are they receiving in response to their service. In the Mayak Jagat, there's some temporary result. And in the eternal, in the spiritual Bhakti, there's an eternal result. And the result of Bhakti is more Bhakti. So serving the higher, you go to the higher. Serving the relative, you go deeper into the relative. So, yeah, the Guru teaches us how to connect with the higher. But that other sloka, you can chant. You're getting very good, Jenna, I must say. Your ability to sort of speak these Sanskrit texts. This Ohe Prabhu Dayamoy. This is from a song, actually.
Okay. Where one of the things I haven't figured out yet is when there's A's on the end of the words, whether to say them or not, because it seems like sometimes you don't, sometimes you do.
Yeah, that question has come up. Srila Govinda Maharaj says, depending on the region, depending where you are. See, Bengalis, as opposed to Hindi, sometimes there's slight difference there,
Okay.
the way they express things. So he said both, because you'll say one thing for Hindi-speaking people, and they'll follow tumara, and the others are tumo, tuma. The Bengalis often don't pronounce the A, it's silent. So he said the main spirit of the text is to be expressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this word with Dayamaya looks like Dayamaya. What you pronounce that Dayamoy?
Dayamaya, yeah. Ohe Prabhu, Dayamaya, Tumara Charana Dvaya, Shruti Shiropari Shubha Paya, Guru Jana Shire Puna, Shubha Paya Shata Guna, Deki Amara Parana Judaya. So this is Gita Mala. So it can be like song also. Song or sloka.
Beautiful. I must have misheard you before. I thought I heard you say Dayamoy or something like that.
Yeah, there is a term Doyamoy. Yeah, because when I looked at it, I just Doyamoy is a god sister of mine. So when I saw Dayamaya, it's like, but Doyamoy is a name
Oh, cool.
that they gave to one of the god sisters. She was a bit of a wild one. One time she threw eggs at the Queen of England. If you can imagine that. She was a natural born rebel.
Wow.
The Queen of England went to Belfast many, many years ago. And this lady, who Gurudev gave initiation to, she threw eggs at the Queen of England. And she spent 2 years in jail, actually, for that crime.
Wow.
Anyway, somehow or other, she got the mercy of Srila Govinda Maharaj and came to the practicing life.
Would you still like me to read that sloka even though you sang it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. O hey Prabhu Dayamaya Tamara Charana Dvaya Shruti Shiropari Shobha Paya Guru Jana Shire Punaha Shobha Bhaya Sata Guna Deki Amara Parana Judaya Gita Mala 111. O merciful Lord, seeing your feet become more beautiful atop the heads of the scriptures, and 100 times more beautiful atop the head of my Guru soothes my heart. Seeing your feet become more beautiful atop the heads of the scriptures. I don't understand this. Atop the heads of the scriptures.
Yeah, so the Lord, so Krishna, his feet, because everything spiritual emanates from the feet of Krishna. So when you add the scriptures to the top of the heads of the scriptures, they're 100 times more beautiful. They become more beautiful atop the heads of the scripture. And when your lotus feet are on the top of the head of my Guru, that's 100 times more. So this is interesting, right? So when we often start the book clubs, I go Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa. Vishnupad means all glories to that great master who the feet of Vishnu has placed on the head. Vishnupad. So the gurus have their feet at the feet of Vishnupad. Now, very interesting. Generally, we put tilak on before we do any Vaishnava ceremony. This is my head is at the feet of Vishnupad. Bhakti, and the foot of Vishnu is on my head. Vishnupad.
Wow.
So, like we have our heads at the feet of divinity always. Try to. That's the aspiration. So the tilak is that. When we go Jayam Vishnupad. So we don't say that about ourselves. The Guru will never go Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj Ki Jai. He'll never call himself Vishnupad or Paramahamsa, but his own master he will. The Guru never makes any declaration about his own position ever. The students will go Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, but the Guru will always be a student. I'm, an instrument at best. I'm trying, but because the Guru is always in the mood of the student. So many times in front of Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would make reference Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraja Kacharya Varistatar Sarasishimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And then there would be silence. And then I would sometimes go, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraj Kacharya Varis Tatar Srila Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj. And when you would make that proclamation, he was always shy, and he'd always look up at Gurudev, you know, like, because he's handing everything up. But yeah, Vishnupad, so the Tulsi, and then this is the foot of Krishna, Vishnu, to the head, Vishnupad. So the feet of Vishnu is here. So that which is holy and divine is always above us, on our head. So this verse is expressing something of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I saw Maharaj in one Srila Govinda Maharaj video on YouTube, like because Srila Maharaj would glorify Srila Govinda Maharaj and say Ki Jai, and then he say Jai, because if Srila Maharaj is saying Jai, then it must be Jai, he was saying.
There we go. It's a paradox of the student, you know, like the student, because see, it's all the work of the higher. That's why from outsiders, when they look in, they go, what is this? These people are like accepting garlands and honor, and they're not actually. They're immediately handing it up. It's their, you know, we're like brokers. What's handed to us goes up. It's actually for the higher, but the higher wants to receive it through a proper system. I was saying that to Kanaka today, like, why is there a Guru Parampara? Because if there isn't, humans will start to go, well, I had this feeling last night that God wants me to offer 6 crocodile heads and 12 pigtails. Yeah. And of course, the guy was dreaming of, saw crocodiles and has a couple of pigs in his farm. So he's concocted the two and just thought, well, I'll offer that to God. So the next time I go to the temple, that's what I'll be offering, you know, the crocodiles and the pigtails. So in order to stop abstract offerings and hodgepodge in the name of what's acceptable to the higher, the great masters are there as the system of approach, and what can be offered and what can't be offered is established through the great Vedic teachings. So do you see, when the guru is omitted, it will become abstract. The whole thing will become a mess. Everything will become concoction. And that's when we see, oh yeah, you know, I can offer to Guru and Krishna, I can offer liquor, hey, maybe we can start offering meat now. Maybe we can, like, even the sun god, the Aztecs, they thought, oh, maybe the sun god wants blood. He wants human blood. Actually, he wants human heads. And at some point, the Aztecs deviated and started to do that. And the Mayans also. So the system of the filtering is so that the approach to the higher is proper and protected, and that the humans get the maximum benefit by which they can progress. Because when humans are conditioned, as we are, we have no idea on how to approach divinity. If we speculate and conjecture, then we'll only end up becoming imitators. And there are many things we can't offer. We can't approach that way. So ultimately, Krishna himself comes as the guru and shows us how to approach him. And that's in the form of Lord Chaitanya as a sannyasi. Lord Chaitanya came and said, if you want to approach the great realm outside of this matrix, this is how you do it. You have to become sattvic, you have to be brahminical, vegetarian, you have to offer your food, you have to clean up, and this is the approach. You have to be loving to other beings, you have to be conscious, you need to connect with the sound vibration, which I'm going to give you, which Lord Chaitanya gave. So the divine expert, Krishna, shows us how to approach him expertly. This is why, unlike any other tradition on earth, the Vedas were not corrupted, as like with other traditions. They weren't diluted. It is true, if you look at other indigenous cultures, they do have connection with Veda, but because of their disconnection from the proximity of the original conception, they gradually did get diluted. And people go, really? Yes, look at Buddhism, Ahimsa philosophy. thou shalt not kill, love everything. And then within 1-2 generations, they're all eating cow and meat and sheep and many things, Theravada and Mahayana. But now the Dalai Lama, who represents the Buddha, is now saying, oh, we should all go vegetarian. Well, of course, that's what the Buddha wanted you to do from the beginning. So tendency for deviation is always there. But if we're under the expert guidance of the great masters, deviation will be minimal, or imitationism. Just like there are many people now in the name of Bhakti who are like, hey, let's have a kirtan. Great. Have you got the zigzag papers? I'll get the cannabis. And so they have a big party, and then there's liquor and drink and whiskey. And then it's like, let's start the kirtans. Not acceptable. Won't be accepted. Actually, it would be better to listen to, rock music than to listen to kirtan that's contaminated with Tama and Raja. It's a fact. Also, kirtan that is being performed without proper connection to a disciplic succession, not being accepted. It will bring some general pious result. So the experts to lay out all this for us so that we approach properly, nicely, and in a progressive, real way. It's like an engineer, the foundation, the structure of the skyscraper, there has to be proper concrete, proper reinforced steel. Otherwise, if the proper foundation is not laid, the whole structure will collapse later. So the gurus train us in the proper foundation and structure so that our faith is strong and solid and has been done under the guidance of the upper. So the upper world shows us how to approach the upper world. The lower world can't show us how to approach the upper world. The upper world shows us how to approach the upper world. All the years I've seen, colleagues and persons, yeah, I'm spiritual, I'm on this, I'm that. But without guru, I've seen none of them have ever moved away from their habits, their nonsense, their cycles. They're all still looping, because they're trying to approach something that requires the upper world to show them. So we're very fortunate, We're connected with 3 heavy upper weight and upper level and higher world masters. Yeah. Very fortunate. No doubt. But no doubt we want to take more advantage of that fortune as much as possible. All right, well, look, maybe, should we just, let me see, following the great souls, should we do just toward the end of the page, just to sort of start at number 40 next week? Next week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to the end, yeah. Following the great
Perfect.
souls.
Yudhisthira Maharaj was a wise man. He was very qualified and had studied so many scriptures, the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, and so on. He also received much advice from various rishis and munis. But after studying so many things, he was puzzled and could not find a settled position. Everything is good, everything is bad. It is good, it is bad. It is good, it is bad. It is good, it is bad. Yudhisthira Maharaj could not conclude what was the proper way to get relief from the illusory environment and become established in a clean position. Lastly, he could only conclude that anyone who tries to discover what religion is simply by reading the scriptures will become crazy.
Yeah. So just an overview, folks. If you decide independent study of the Vedanta, you will become lost within the Vedic forest completely. There'll be this ritual and that guru and that conception. And do you do the Ganga Puja? Do you do the Jamuna Puja? Do you go to the Himalayas to meet the sages and rishis in that lineage or this lineage? You'll wrap yourself up into knots, and the whole thing will become hodgepodge of conception, which it is true, depending in Hindu culture, and Anam and Rohit, they'll subscribe to this understanding that independent study. If you go deep into Vedic revelation and conception, from the north to the south, south to the north, to the east to the west, it is just vast, and you'll end up confusing yourself. So who can show us the essence of Veda? The Mahajans, the experts who have drawn the cream from the milk, so to speak. Yeah, so, and then the next part of this revealed truth will show how Yudhisthira Maharaj, these questions come up on who are we to follow, what is amazing, what is miraculous, what is the news, and yeah, like that. So God himself comes as Lord Chaitanya to show us the essence of all the Veda. And the essence of Veda is love of Radha Govinda. So all the other, Astanga, Pranayam, Hatha, Kriya, Raj, Samadhi, the different mystic cities, ultimately you can get lost. And actually the Brahmanda, the universe, will take you into the lost positions within different states of consciousness. Puraloka, Bhava, Svaga, Mahajana, Tapa. But Bhakti will take you out and give you final solution and final resting place in love at the feet of Radha Govinda. So we're very fortunate. Thank you so much, Jenna. We didn't get through so much today, but I just thought
it was perfect. Oh, so sorry to interrupt you. It was just so beautiful. It was so nice to hear you speaking. Yeah, it was really galactic. Hour and a half.
Yeah, there's never enough time. I mean, I just, and thank you so much for being with me on the journey, you beautiful souls, I feel very privileged. And like, if our group grows, we'll remember these days, because it is true. I like the smaller group better than the larger. I like, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very much that style. He didn't like big groups and big institution. He loved a few, and then he could be more intimate in the sharing. But inevitably, of course, we can't be selfish. We have to tell our friends about the great chants here, but my nature is, I like the smaller. But yeah, so thank you so much for the privilege and the hour and a half to be with you all. It's never enough, but so much. But we are putting these to the YouTube, so do feel free to go back and reflect, because so many points you can go back and reflect. And even because my prayer, and I'm always praying, like, as you become more proficient and acquainted with these concepts, then you also can take these classes. I don't always have to be present. I can be doing other seva. And then, Anam can be taking a class, or Jenna or Rohit, like that, because we want to empower everyone to lead and teach. And yeah, Prabhupada was very much in that spirit in the 60s. But after a few years, he said, generally, Gurudev used to say, a few years, assimilate. But depending, sometimes even after 6 months, a year. I was giving my first class to a public audience after 1.5 years, thrown into the deep end. But anyway, it's not everyone's calling, but it is great to be able to assimilate the conceptions and live in the dynamic life of service, and then share the teachings, which I know all of you will be doing in your own ways, with friends and family, or you'll be naturally sharing something of these high topics. Even if just dialogue within your own reflective meditations, Hare Krishna. Well, thank you all.
Yeah, and thank you now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you all on Thursday for the Bhagavad Gita. And one thing, Rohit and Anam, like, I'm contactable through WhatsApp. So anytime, if you ever want a one-on-one, I'm more than happy to reflect or share or talk with you privately, or one-on-one. So that's always there for you anytime. Because I speak with Jenna usually once a week, or Sudishan often. So yeah, just putting that out if you feel the need. Any questions or yeah.
Lots of love. So much love.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Well,
See you all
Yay.
Tuesday. Jai Gurudev.
hello.
Good night, everybody.
Dhanavad.
Jai Maharaj.